This is The Night Beat with Mort Krim, Carmen Harlan, Van Earl Wright Sports, and Chuck Gaedica's Big Picture Forecast.
Well, they're horrible stories, and we're seeing them much more often. A man has the wrong leg amputated. A young boy dies when his doctor falls asleep. How common are these hospital horrors? Night Beat medical reporter Asha Blake shows you two local women with stories that bring the problem a little close to home.
They performed what they call an episiotomy, and you know, it's supposed to make it safer for women delivering a child. Well, what happened was I was severely torn up and ripped in half.
They didn't fully analyze what my pain was. They didn't correct the situation immediately or until it was almost too late.
Both of these women went into Michigan hospitals to deliver babies. Both came back victims of hospital mistakes. Deborah's daughter, Emily, has cerebral palsy and will never walk or talk. During childbirth, Deborah's uterus ruptured. But because no medical personnel realized what was wrong, Emily almost died. Her brain permanently damaged by severe oxygen loss.
We've heard comments that it was as if a grenade had exploded inside her uterus.
Teresa's baby was fine, but she wasn't, because doctors cut too far into her vaginal area. She was left with no control of her bowels.
I had no control. Shopping, everything was terrible. It was a nightmare.
These women's stories are not isolated. In the past few months, we've heard one horror story after another. The wrong breast removed at a Grand Rapids hospital. In Florida, the wrong leg amputated and the wrong patient removed from a ventilator. In Denver, a doctor accused of causing a young boy's death by falling asleep on the job. In Boston, the death of a writer given toxic doses of a cancer drug.
Incompetence is just not limited to one particular city or one particular hospital. It's rampant throughout the United States.
Gerald Thurswell is a malpractice attorney. At any given time, his firm is handling 300 to 400 cases involving medical errors in Michigan. He agrees with critics who say hospitals just aren't doing enough to prevent mistakes.
If you look at the systems that are put into place to prevent planes from crashing, they are much more rigorous than the systems that are put in place to keep people from being killed or seriously injured in hospitals as a result of negligence.
But a spokesperson for a statewide hospital organization says there's no reason for alarm.
I don't think hospitals are dangerous places. I think obviously when a tragedy occurs, it's devastating to the patient and to the family and also to the healthcare provider. But to give you an idea of the magnitude of what goes on in hospitals, in the country, each day, 2 million people are seen and treated in a hospital.
Hospitals say they can't give anyone a guarantee, but they do have safeguards in place to prevent mistakes. And they say as a patient, you can help avert tragedy by learning to ask a lot of questions, something that Deborah learned the hard way.
Don't assume that you're in you're in a professional place and that they will always make the right decision.
I think about this, and it's really hard to accept, but knowing that Emily could have been a normal, healthy child.
Asha Blake, The Night Beat.
Tomorrow night, Asha shows you just how much information you have access to and what your rights are to avoid hospital mistakes.
Very touching stories.
This is The Night Beat with Mort Krim, Carmen Harlan, Van Earl Wright Sports, and Chuck Gaedica's Big Picture Forecast.
Well, we've all seen and heard and read the stories of hospital horrors, doctors amputating a wrong leg, giving the wrong medicine, pulling the plug when they weren't supposed to. But it doesn't have to happen to you. Night Beat medical reporter Asha Blake shows you how you can protect yourself.
I didn't think I deserved this. I don't think, when I think about it, I think someone that goes around mutilating women and cutting up children should have had this happen to them, but all I did was go and have a baby.
Teresa Curran suffered for 5 years before getting corrective surgery. Surgery she needed to fix a hospital's mistake. During childbirth, doctors cut too far into her anal area, leaving her with no control of her bowels.
From what I understand, this could have been prevented. Had my doctor paid attention when I first told him of the problems, and had he gone in there and repaired me right then and there,
Teresa's story is frightening, but as the victim of a hospital mistake, she is not alone. According to Harvard Medical School, every year some 180,000 deaths can be attributed to medical error.
X-rays are misread. Monitors, cardiac monitors are shut off. Patients aren't monitored and disasters occur. Oxygen is shut off. People are brain damaged.
Hospitals insist these kinds of horror stories are not common. That people like Willie King, who had the wrong leg amputated at a Florida hospital, are unfortunate exceptions.
No human system is foolproof, and occasionally somebody breaks through and we have a calamity.
So what can you do to protect yourself? You can be a little less trusting and you can ask a lot of questions. But what if the information you want is about your hospital? How much can you really get?
In fact, very little. The state will tell you how many complaints have been filed against a hospital, but that number is low because it doesn't include lawsuits. Information about malpractice suits is confidential. You can't find out how many have been filed against a hospital or why.
Let's assume there's a mishap in the hospital. Let's assume something goes wrong. The doctors know, the hospital knows. There's an incident report. There's a peer review committee report. This is not available to the public. This is not available to anyone.
These Florida protesters are demanding more access to hospital records, something they say all states should allow. But hospitals say opening their books is not the answer.
I think even today, people maybe sit back and don't ask questions and don't become a partner and don't become an advocate and a champion on their own behalf or the behalf of their loved one, and that's very important.
But critics and victims of hospital mistakes say patients shouldn't be the ones who have to worry, especially when they may not know what questions to ask.
As far as I knew, that I was going to have an episiotomy, which would help deliver my son easier, but they did not tell me that it would leave me, you know, with no control of my bowels at all. They didn't tell me that.
The problem that you have is you're ill, you're sick, and you seek medical care. And you put your faith in the hospital, you put your faith in the doctor. And many times, it's blind faith.
Asha Blake, The Night Beat.
Several Detroit hospitals tell us their best prevention is repeatedly asking you questions before you go into the operating room. They admit that can be annoying, but they'd rather risk that than to risk your health.